Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Coffee Time. Coffee Time's all about spiritual chat and putting and letting any questions that arrive from the people that are watching. If you would like to if you would like to ask some questions about what me and my guests are talking about, or any questions of a spiritual nature, really, that would be great. Anyway, without further ado, I would like you to welcome my guest this evening, the lovely Judith Millar. Hello, Judith. Sorry, I had trouble remembering your second name then.
You're grand. You're grand.
Okay. Just for anybody that doesn't know you, just if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, please, Judith, and what you do, and about your spiritual journey. That would be great. Thank you, Judith.
Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm a physical medium, and I didn't know I was going to be a physical medium. It was a path that Spirit took me down. I always had that knowing, that knowing within that different things was going to happen, different things, and seen things, heard things. I never really took back to it again till my adulthood, to be honest. But now I'm really, really passionate about my journey. I'm passionate about helping others. And I've learned to completely surrender and trust my guides, and they take me forward and in their teachings. And I've learned to just accept they know best, and they know how they can better work with me. So I'm really grateful for that.
That's lovely. I love the fact that you mentioned trusting your guides, because I think that's very, very important. Let me take the opportunity to welcome everybody that's joining us. Very grateful that you're here. We can't do it without you. But the reason I invited you on, Judith, is because you are a physical medium. And I wanted to talk about consciousness over matter, because that's what physical mediumship is. It's consciousness over matter. And with my small understanding of physical mediumship, Spirit used the physical energy of the medium to create the phenomena. I don't like that word, phenomena, but anyway.
Yeah.
I've over the years I've seen and felt different phenomena. I've even been to physical seances. How do you feel that Spirit worked with you in this way, in this physical way?
At the beginning, if I'm being honest, I felt quite lost. I did struggle at the beginning because I didn't expect it, and I understand now we should never expect anything. But at the same time, at the beginning I worried about other people. I worried about being accepted by other people, and that's something that I did struggle with. But my guides, they explained to me to just trust and go with it, and I did. So now I love it. Now I embrace it, because every time I go do a live, every time I go to do something and work with Spirit in some way, I never know what is going to happen in that session, because although I help Spirit and we work two in one, we do physical interactions and many other different things. I never choose, because that's me taking control. So I always wait. If their loved one who comes forward wants to do a physical interaction, then they choose, and I would work with them. But if they don't bring that forward, I don't offer that. I always just be guided by Spirit, and I'm okay with that now. I actually really enjoy it.
That's brilliant. You're right with respect. And you're right. I mean, with platform mediumship or trance mediumship, as I'm a channel for, you should never expect anything, but you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to be said. You don't know how spirit are going to work through you. You know, I often say with my own trance demonstrations, you know, I see them as a developmental set, you know, and it's me and my guides developing, working together, but I don't know what's going to happen. Something might happen or nothing might happen. And that's quite being in a scary place sometimes, isn't it?
It is, but again, it took me back to every time spirit wanted to teach me something different in the physical, they always do it live. And they always put me on the spot. And at first I used to get myself in such a fluster because I was like trying to figure out, how am I helping you with this, or how am I, because there's all different things. And I think it was because I was worrying more about everybody watching, and I'm trying to understand this new thing, this new interaction that they want to do with me. But then again, it goes back to, I just learned to, it's okay to fall on your face a few times until you get the knack of it. And then I just learned to fall on my face and get back up and keep trying. And we talked earlier about the trust. I always call it the trust fall. It's especially, I think, physical. Tell me if you think different, Stephen, but when it comes to physical mediumship and things like that, trust fall is the key. It's like standing at the near edge of a cliff and somebody standing behind you, and you trust them unconditionally to catch you. And I very much feel like that with spirit. I know that they'll always catch me.
Oh, very much so. I mean, like with trance demonstrations, I know that they will look after me.
Yeah.
No matter what, mind, body, and spirit, they will look after me. I went through some experiences early on, in my journey, very early in my journey, that are the reasons why I teach spiritual protection. But I always promote to people, have a good working relationship with your guides. They become lifelong friends. And, a lot of people ask me, well, how long is it going to take? And I say, well, whoever long spirit want to work through me. But, and then it's, are you safe? And I was just say, I've been working with them so long, I just trust them implicitly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a question.
Sorry.
Go on.
I've been asked before.
No.
I've been asked before about protection. People who may be starting on their journeys or developing, and I can honestly say, hand on heart, I have always felt safe. I have never doubted that I'm protected by my guides. Always.
That's great. That's great. And it's good that you have that relationship with them. But my early beginnings were different to that.
Yeah.
Okay, because I had particularly one guide, my Zulu guide, that had to learn how to respect me as a physical channel. And he was using me any old hour, coming through any time he liked and anything like that. And lots of weird and wonderful things were happening. But it wasn't until I got in Circle that I was taught how to protect myself, how to close down, how to open to spirit, and Zangu, the Zulu warrior, was taught how to respect me as a physical channel. I think opening and closing is very important with spirit. Would you agree or not?
Yes, in a way, but I also know that we're always open to spirit. I had a discussion with a gentleman one day, and he spirit are very respectful. They'll give me my space, and they won't interfere, and they won't interrupt or But at the same time, if something happens and spirit needs to come forward, they'll still come forward. I've been in a situation where spirit have came forward and they kept giving me a message, and I said to them, right, that's not a problem. But then the message kept coming back, and I thought there's a reason this is happening, what's happening. And it was an emergency. And I actually phoned, it was a person I know, it was their mother. And I contacted my friend and explained to them that this was the message. And she wouldn't stop giving this message until it was passed. It was urgent. And he wasn't to drive. He wasn't to drive that night. And the route he would have taken, there was a car crash. And had he have driven that night, he would have been in that car crash. So, and yes, I know we open and close down and whatever, but at the same time, spirit are still worth it. They're still there. And if they need to get that message to us, they will.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I've had a couple of instances in my life, like, a friend of mine, they kept telling me that she had taken a drugs overdose. They kept on at me till I phoned the parents. I was only 19 at the time, but I kept on about it. But what I was taught was sort of like not to if you've got that sort of like urgent message, or you can see harm coming to someone, give it to them in a roundabout way. Because if you say, I've got a message from my spirit guides or your spirit guide saying that this and that's going to happen to you, it could frighten them, and they could think you're a nutter. But I agree that spirit around all the time. We are spirit ourselves.
Yeah.
All right. I just close my connection. But if it is something sort of like red hot urgent that I should know, or I need to tell someone, they will put that thought in my mind, and I will sort of like try and guide that person in that way, if you know what I mean, the way spirit's guiding me to tell them, but and I have my own time with spirit. When I'm working with spirit, that's their time. When I'm at home, that's my time. Or when I'm at work, because I drive for a living, so I can't have guys coming through while I'm driving.
Yeah.
Or when I'm with my girlfriend, you know what I mean? So we have to have that agreement with them, But I don't. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead, finish what you were saying.
What was I going to say? I think it's just important that we work at certain levels with spirit, and we're not open to all levels, if you can understand what I'm saying. Because if you're open to sort of like all levels, anything could come at you 24/7 a day, 24 hours a day. And this is why I think spiritual protection is very important.
So I agree. Spiritual protection of ourselves is very important. But there was something happened to me, Stephen, and it was really, really profound. And even to this day, I struggle to put it into words, and that's honest. And so I like past lives. I like to understand the other lives, the other parallel lives. So I'm very much, once I start on one, I'll keep going through that until I've kind of understood that life. And I was doing one, and it was actually connected to my spiritual name. The spirit gave me my spiritual name. And I researched it and discovered the whole life. And I was actually in the kitchen when I was writing down what was coming to me and what I was getting. I was burning the dinner at the same time. And once the penny dropped, and I actually said to my guides, I was Ruth. I was that person. I was Ruth. I felt like somebody had put me into cement for 24 hours. I had no head. This wasn't sitting in the power. This was a completely different experience to what we talk about consciousness. I was just pure consciousness in that moment for a couple of minutes. It was so profound. And I remember asking and saying to my guides, what's happening? What's going on? I didn't do anything. It was spirit done it. My guides. And they said to me, now you understand, you're always connected and you're always one with source. You don't need to worry about coming forward and coming back, because the light is through you and the light shines through you. So you're always one with source. And I can remember saying to them, will this stop? will this experience ease? Because it was so profound. If somebody had said something to me instant, I wasn't even getting a chance to like respond to the question. The answer was there. And it was just an amazing experience. But ever since then, I don't put back. Now, I'm not saying don't do it, because we should, but I don't need to with my guides. They're very, they have their time with me when I'm ready to work with spirit. And apart from that, I have my physical life. I do, you know, but everything changed after that for me, as in like with boundaries, with everything else, everything completely changed. And I understood then that no matter what, even if we think not, that's the wrong terminology, even if we close down and open up, what spirit are there, and if we need to interact with them, we can interact. I've been able, it's just after that's what happened, and I never had to go through like the routine that I used to go through, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your guides. You're always connected to source. I agree with that. And I do talk to spirit. You know, I allow my guides within my protection. I allow my loved ones within my protection. But there is I do have the protective wall that the lower levels can get so far, but they can't crash into it. Yeah, we're still spreading light out so that they can benefit from that light. Joe, you reminded me of something, because somebody asked it last trance I did. Somebody asked my guide a very interesting question, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But June Pinot, I hope I've pronounced your surname right, says, so how do you stop it from coming out? If you could tell us what you're referring to, I'm not sure what she was referring to. What do you need?
She may be referring to spirit. Maybe she's referring to working with spirit, like you're saying, shutting up and opening up and closing down, or maybe that's what she's meaning. Yeah,
like, you know, like Judith just mentioned, boundaries. You know, when I'm home asleep in bed, no way. When I'm driving, no way. You know, unless it's, apart from when I'm demonstrating, you know, it's sort of like only be there unless you have to. Of course, when I'm not demonstrating, I'll meditate, or I'll send out a thought to my spirit guides, or I'll ask a question to my spirit guides, but I'll get that answer. How do you stop a message from coming out? A message will always come out in whichever way, shape, or form, whether it's through you or from somebody else. You know, spirit will always find a way of giving that message. You know, but to me, I just sort of like, wherever that message is coming from, unless it's sort of like really important, you know what I mean, or it's a need to know basis, I'll just say not now. I'll just stand it back.
But do you not find, Stephen, because you've been doing it a lot longer than me, your platforming, but do you not find that you have a system and you respect your guides and they respect you, so you have a mutual respect there, and again, I think it goes back to the trust fall. You really have to develop that unconditional trust with your spirit guides, and that relationship with your spirit guides. once you've made that really strong connection and you trust your spirit guides, there is that mutual respect. They don't intrude with you, and you don't it's for me, that's how it works for me. It's very much like that for me.
Yeah, I agree. On the same, we may have different approaches to it, but we are the same, Judith. But what the question that was asked to my spirit guide, the last trance I did, can studying your past lives help you in this life? What do you think of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Personally, for me, it has helped me when I have understood. I haven't understood all of my past lives, but that's the process I'm still going down. But it opens us up more in the sense that we're tapping into what we've already got there. We're just forgetting how to use it. And I know personally for me, understanding different things that affected me in past lives, understand you can heal them and work through it in this life. It gives you answers.
Yeah, that's basically what my guide answered. The understanding things that happened in your past life, can help you very much today. Like, say, for instance, if you're frightened of water, you might have drowned in a previous life. I've actually been regressed, and in 4 of my lives, not many people believe this, but in 4 of my past lives, I was a monk, and I did writing, the Holy Scriptures and all that, hence why I write a lot today, and there was a couple of other lives where I was sort of like a servant boy to a Roman in this country, sort of like a high up Roman in this country who escaped and all that. But just knowing that helped me to understand certain aspects of this life. So it can create a great healing.
Yeah.
Go on.
It can also, when we're doing it, it will in the overall give a really big healing to us in this life. But we have to understand that something upsetting might come up. But if we can learn to let it go and understand how to heal from that, it makes a big impact healing wise and the positive wise in this life.
Yeah, I agree, and it can create clearings in your life. If you've got that greater understanding, and you act upon it, it can change your life. It can change your life dramatically for the better. Yeah. Margaret Weatherall's asking me, can I ask, please, do you know where your guide is from? On the earth or spirit, what they did in their past life. Well, I've got a Zulu warrior who fought in the Zulu wars. Okay. I've got a Native American who's told me his name, Red Cloud. And it weren't the famous war chief, Red Cloud, but he was sort of like a brave. He looked after the tribe and done hunting and everything like that, but he was also a herbalist. Okay, Egyptian priest. And I had a lovely experience with him in the Temple of Nefertari, Abu Simbel. I'm going to leave this next, John Constable, the painter, is also one of my doorkeepers. I won't go on with the list too long, but like Judith says, I've been doing it a long time, so I've been chatting to them a long time, and they give me little pieces of information to ourselves. I'll ask this question to you, young Judith, from Mel McConnell. How do we meet our guides?
Well, we're meeting our guides without even realizing we're meeting our guides. We meet our guides when we go to sleep at night. When we go to sleep at night and those dreams that we have, our spirit is off traveling. We're meeting our loved ones. We're meeting our guides. We're at maybe a counseling in the sense that we're, discussing what as we learn, spirit are learning, which is why everything is evolving so much and advancing. So, you know, sometimes we meet to come together for like a school, if you want to call it like a school, to discuss what we've both been learning, what our higher self needs us to understand. But to learn to actually connect with your guides, find a really good mentor, join a development circle. Your journey should always be your journey. Your guide, a mentor will help mentor you, but your guides will give you your niche, and your guides will show you how they can work with you. But as Stephen said earlier, trust is a massive factor, and that's something we have to work on. We all have to work on that. And patience. Patience it's our journeys is no quick journey. Patience is really, really important, that we should embark on it. A lot of people embark on it for healing for themselves to begin with, and for their life, and to make things better in their life. And then it progresses, or we might start with Reiki and open up through the healing side that way, and open up into spirit that way. But be patient, be respectful, and allow them to guide you. There's no rushing ahead and trying to skip a few steps till you get to the end. It's not like that. Stephen's I'm continuously learning. I'm still learning. Stephen, we're all still learning. Like I'm learning, Spirit's teaching me at the moment with the voice. And again, I don't control that. I just allow that, and I'm not trying to allow myself and teach myself to relax more, to allow it to be more fluent. But again, I can't control that, and I don't want to control it. I like the fact that Spirit are guiding me, and they teach me, because and teach us all, because they know your strengths and weaknesses, and they know exactly the best way to work with you. But a mentor will help guide you on that journey and support you, and be a cheerleader the same as your guides. But a development circle is somewhere where you put that practice in, and you need to work and build that practice, because that's the only way you're going to build that trust with your guides, is to work with them.
I agree with all that, Judith. From my own experience, I just went straight from knowing that there was a purpose to it, going to the Spiritualist church, mediums telling me who my guides were. But I realise now that through my early experiences, and you said like in our dreams and in sleep state, guides are in our soul group as well. They choose to come and guide us. But everybody's heard about astral travel, haven't they? You know, but we can meet them on an astral level when our bodies are fast asleep, and travel to our soul group and meet them, and they guide us and talk to us. And like Judith said, for our greatest and highest good, so that we may not be aware of that in our day-to-day conscious mind, but it's there. It's sort of like with our spirit self, and that knowledge will come through when it is needed. I agree with knowledge, not knowledge. I agree with Judith about find yourself a good mentor, a good medium, a knowledgeable medium in a circle that can teach you how to connect with your spirit guides. Meditation's the easiest way.
I love meditation. I'm a big meditator.
Yeah, but meditation is a tool you can use to meet your guides. And a lot of people these days don't think guides are important, but I do very much so. I think they're very important. I think Judith does too. You know, so if you want to meet your guides, and you want to get to work with them, you want to sort of like not only understand yourself, because spiritual development is self-development, to understand yourself better. But if you want to do it for service, join a circle. You know, let's see what Mel McConnell's saying. I've felt spiritual since I was a child. I've had many dreams where they have come true. I even dreamt of someone's passing, only to be woken up by a phone call that my dream had come true. The exact way it happened. I feel and smell people who have passed, but I am yet to feel as if I've met my guides. What do you think of that?
Guides.
Yeah. Have
Mel,
you yeah, go on. Yeah, go on, Judith.
Mel, you're definitely working with your guides. All the clairs, all the different clairs, the clairaudience, Augustus, you know, the clairvoyance, we are working with our spirit team through our clairs. So I always say, you know, like, just for instance, I'm only saying this, I'm not saying that's facts, but say Stephen was really strong clairvoyant, I was really strong clairaudient, and I'm a weaker clairvoyant and he's a weaker clairaudient. At some point, he will strengthen up on them other clair, and at some point, I will strengthen up on other clairs. So the more, as we were saying earlier, when you develop, the stronger they're getting. So the fact that you're smelling, you have them sense, and the fact that your dreams is coming true, that's your clairvoyance straight away. You're, you know, that inner knowing. Journal. So when we aren't communicating with our guides, they communicate with us through those clairs, through that intuition and through that inner knowing. So you are working with your guides. You definitely are. You just need a mentor and a development circle to help you find your comfort zone and confidence to know that who you're working with. I always like to know who I'm working with, Stephen. Do you? If I'm working with...
I think that's incredibly important. You should never give a message unless you know who it's coming from.
Yeah, I always want to know who I'm talking to.
Because, as we were just... Well, as I've discussed many times, we're not allowed to cause harm. So, you know, you got to make sure that you've got the right communicator there, whether it's a spirit guide or somebody's loved one or whatever. Another thing about spirit guides is that when I'm working with spirit, and many mediums are working with spirit, they make sure that the right consciousness energies, the right loved ones come through that can't cause harm to the medium or the person receiving the message.
Yeah. There is messages that we shouldn't pass.
As well. Okay.
There is messages that we shouldn't pass, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, you know, it's not for us. Hi, Colin. It's not for us to go and push our messages onto someone who's not asked for them.
Yeah.
You know, that's important.
Yeah, it's the way you tell them sometimes, you know, because you, like me, Judith, sometimes, you know, you could have something important to say to someone that's a devout skeptic or doesn't believe or whatever, but you have to put it over in a way that they can understand. You've got to find a way of giving that message. Tracy Major keeps asking if I can still feel spirits. I'm just chatting. I'm not opening to spirit in that way, if you can understand. You know what I mean, Tracy? So I'm just having a lovely chat with Judith here. Okay. All right. What was I going to say? So getting back to the earlier one about, I forgot the lady's name now, and I do apologise for forgetting your name. Can you put that one up again, please, Veronica? That's it. Look, all things are connected. So when we feel of an upcoming death or something like that, you know, it's through that connection, because everybody's connection. That's how the energy of all that gets through to us in a very simple way. You know what I mean? And then we get the phone call like you did that person's passed away. But I'm not allowed to give a message that someone's going to pass away, because that can cause harm.
No, I didn't say that they were going to pass away. I just said to them they weren't to drive on.
No, I was just answering the lady's question. You know what I mean? Me personally, I'm not allowed to, or any medium is not allowed to say something, so-and-so is going to pass on. We're not allowed to tell anybody that. What I was told to say was that basically, that person's feeling alone right now, or they need some help. Can you go and spend some time with them and do it that way? Right. Mel McCon was asked another question. Do your loved ones come through to you? And if so, how do you differentiate it's a message and not wishful thinking? Good question, Mel. If you want to give your take on that, Judith, then I'll throw my 2 pence in.
Yeah. Yes, your loved ones can come through to you. So it's what we do is, so I've actually experienced this recently, and there's no point in saying I'm not going to mention it because everybody knows. I recently lost my granddaughter in July, and I always say to people who've come to me in the past, I've just lost my loved one. Please, can you connect to them? I always ask them to go away and take time and just allow themselves to go through the healing process, the grieving process, because there's so much to go through. And as a medium, we're no different, because we're still here to live the human experience. So, although our loved ones can come through to us, they can come through to us, yes, might come forward, might show themselves. Our guides, most of us will always know or see our guides as to, the difference between our guides, and a loved one will always bring something forward. For me, my granddaughter has come through little bits, but I'm like that person. I'm telling to go away and take time to grieve and go through the process. So right now, I'm not ready for those big connections, because I know she's there and I know she's giving me little snippets, but I know my guides are helping me in the way that it's right for me. And in time, I will connect in a bigger way. But for right now, we still have to go through the human experience. So there's that side of it. When we connect when our loved ones, when they do pass, we can connect to them. They're there. They're adapting to what it's like for them. And the one thing I can tell you is my granddaughter told me is she feels very light and fluffy. And that just, I understood that perfectly. But at the same time, our guides, I know when I'm working with certain guides, I either have a way of understanding the energy around me, or I can see them. So a loved one, I always have one particular loved one that comes forward when there's a warnings to give, and it's always the same loved one. But it is bittersweet, because we do feel that grief, we do feel that pain, and we do need to allow ourselves time to heal. But on the other side of it, doing what we do, it really helps in some way. My spiritual journey is helping me in some way, but I know that we can definitely connect with our loved ones, and it's nice. They're able to tell us what they're doing. I've connected with many people's loved ones, and they're able to come forward and say they're doing this now and they're helping in this way, and it's really nice. So it is bittersweet, but absolutely we can connect to our loved ones and our guides, and you will understand as you develop and grow the difference too.
You answered that beautifully, I thought, Judith. All right.
Yeah.
Well, there's 3 or 4 ways. This is a discussion by itself, I think, But what was I going to say? We're all connected, so everything's connected. So as soon as we think about a loved one, it connects to them. Just that little thought. I wonder how Dad's doing. I wonder how Mum's doing. Even my pet bunny rabbit or whatever. It connects. And I think where we go wrong is when we're constantly seeking to have connection with them and have messages. That's where wishful thinking can come in, and that's where we spend our lives just focused on getting signs or communication in some way or another.
Rowlands,
become very absorbed in that, and
yeah,
and we have to live our lives, and like Judith said, we have to go through the grieving process.
we're no different. Yeah,
That's very, very important. It's like when my dad died. He's there, passed away on the hospital bed, and my mum said, "Give him a kiss on his head." So I give him a kiss on his head, right? And his voice vibrated through my head, "Look after your mum," and that was so my dad. It was just my dad, and it was his voice. Now I know that I don't normally get it like that as well. So, but I allowed myself to grieve and to go on, okay? And Dad comes in his own time, okay? Yeah. I do think this knowledge has helped, but my dad lived to a great age and he had a good life and he had a list of things wrong with him, so it wasn't unexpected. But sadly, with Judith losing a grandchild, that's terrible, that's tragic, and nobody can prepare themselves for that. Whereas I was a lot more prepared for my grief than Judith was, because you expect your grandchildren to outlive you, don't you? So you're right in what you say. Go through your grief, know that our loved ones are on a journey, and we've got to allow them to have that journey.
Yeah.
And like one important thing you said, Judith, is like with your granddaughter or anybody else, they're adjusting to where they are. So we must allow them to have that journey, and we must allow, I know it's hard to say, but I think with grief, we have to learn how to let go.
It is hard because we understand there is life, and we're given that evidence every day to other people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It is hard, but at the same time, the one thing that I can honestly say that has helped in some small way, because nothing is going to change that grief process. But Jane would have been a moderator on my lives on TikTok. And she used to do a lot of spiritual exercises with me. She loved the spirit. She was her and my grandson are very spiritual. And she understood how I worked. So she's very strong physically. She's moving objects and she's making sure her presence is known, because she's understood that she can do that, because being so close to me and what I do, she understands that she could do that. I've had connections and readings with people, and we were talking about, spirit evolving the same as us. And I've had a loved one in the past ask me, can I move a mug off somebody's hand, or can I move the pencil? Can they move the pencil? And then I'll ask, and their loved one will give their permission. I always ask for permission. So their loved one will give their permission and consent. And the loved one will be maybe with the object or whatever it is. Could be a photograph they want to move off, or whatever the object is. And the loved one has said to me, I'm not sure I can do this. And I said to the loved one in spirit, you can do it. You've taught me to trust, so please trust me that you can do this. And that's somebody who's finding their confidence in the spirit and the spirit realm and adjusting. So it works both ways. It does work both ways.
Oh, I agree. It does work both ways. I often tell people, because they expect spirit communication to be perfect, but it's not always perfect. And, you can get in the right, as a medium, you can get in the right space and everything that you need to do to be able to communicate with spirit. But it depends on the level of understanding of the spirit. Are they that used to communicating through a medium? And it takes time.
Yeah.
Like I go around these churches and there's people's loved ones that come through every week, so they're well versed in communicating to a medium. But somebody who's just passed over, or somebody that's died tragically, like in an accident or something like that, you know, it can take a little longer, and it can, you know, until they learn how to communicate through a medium. But I think with mediumship, you have to use your whole self to be able to accommodate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It might come in a whisper in your ear. It might come in a feeling in your stomach, or whatever. You know what I mean? Or you might just get one image in your mind, or something.
I always say to people, if you think every time you want to work with spirit, they're there and they show up for you, it's important that we remember that they're learning too, and it can't just be all when it suits us. In the sense that, you know, when we're working with spirit, we have to remember that they're learning and understanding different things as what's happening as well. So we're all on that journey together. And we're all spirit guides. Only we're doing it in the physical form, and they're doing it in the spirit form. But we're all a team, and without that team, we aren't. We need the team to work. And it's a teamwork. It's always teamwork.
Oh, very much so. I just do a little thing where I ask my spirit guides to help anybody that's struggling to get a message through, or they don't know how to do it, whatever, to sort of like help them to get the message through. And even then, you can have a very weak link, but it takes time, and it takes teamwork, as Judith says, you know, and it takes however long. Or like when you mentioned earlier, Judith, when spirit are working with you differently to how they normally work. And it's always when you're doing it, you know what I mean? You know, when you're doing a demonstration in front of people and all the rest of it. But you have to go with it. I always tell people to go with it.
Yeah. I've done readings and connections, and they'll ask me, can they do about the water in the tap? And I call it the water trick. I don't know what else to call it. And spirit aren't coming forward and telling me a particular name. So they're just showing me to guide the person how to do it. And spirit does it. And they control the water from the tap. And they start it and stop it. And they're in full control of that water. And it will just build and build and build at the entrance of the tap, at the exit of the tap. But it won't fall until they say, right, it's going to fall, and only then it'll fall onto the person's hand. But at the same time, I don't know what to call that. So personally, for me, I just call it the water trick, because it's spirit that's doing the work. So there's different ways that they put us on the spot. But you know, I think sometimes it's good that you're put on the spot, because that shows whether you trust your team or whether you're more worried about how you look. And you know yourself, Stephen, you'll always say ego should never come into it. So if we can't do something the first time, I've learned that's fine, I'll figure it out the next time, or you know. And so it's really important, because that is really where I think we're tested, is when we're put on the spot. Do we trust and go with it and figure it out and go with what's happening in the spur of the moment, or do we pull back?
I would say go with it every time, embrace it.
Yeah. So yeah.
Because just on a very simple way of looking at it, that's the only way that one spirit's found out to communicate. You know, so go with it. You're adding another string to your bow. You're increasing your vibration. You're increasing your sensitivity by working that way. So that's why I say embrace it.
Yeah.
You know, go for it. You know, the way I see mediumship, in whichever form it comes in, is I see it as an act of love to spirit, but also see it as an act of love to the person receiving the message from the medium. But we are unimportant. What a lot of people got to realise is it's not about us. It's about getting the message over.
It's never about the medium. Never about the medium.
Oh, yeah. That's why I call myself a parrot for spirit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, you got your name like the water trick.
Yes.
Well, if I've got a new communicator adjusting to my voice box for trance, it's sort of like that sort of thing. I call it the opera singer. We've all got our little name. You know
See,
what I mean?
that's it. Well, you know, see, the best thing you'll ever find with mediums is they will have all their own wee terminologies, but that's our niche. That's just how we've understood to develop and understand how to work with our teams. And that's showing that, okay, this is like me and Stephen, we work very different. But at the same time, Stephen works exactly how his team works with him, and my team teach and work with me exactly how my team work with me. We both get the end result. We're both we're both giving comfort, we're giving love, we're giving healing and support, and there's a lot comes out of that connection from each of us, even though we work in different ways. And I think that's maybe where a lot of us go wrong. We look at other mediums or we look at other people and we think, I can't do that. So straight away it knocks confidence or it makes you feel like you're not adequate enough. And that's the wrong way to look at it, because you don't want to worry about anybody else's journey. You don't want to worry about how anybody else works, because that's their niche, that's their guides, that's their style, that's who they are. You want to develop your own niche, your own style, and that trust and connection and your own little terminologies with your own spirit guides, and be yourself on your own journey and not worry about trying to fit into something else that you think is somebody's doing better, because we're not. We're all fumbling our way through and we're all learning and understanding, and we all have a way to work with our guides, and your guides is going to be the best person to bring that out in you.
That's very true. It's a big mistake to try and be like somebody else. And I like the fact that we have nicknames for things, Judy, or our own description of things, because there's so many people trying to put clever little names on things, aren't there? We'll stick with the opera singer and you stick with the water trick, you know.
That's it. Yeah.
But, you know, I'll just add to that spirit finds something unique in us that they want to work with. So you can't be like anybody else. You've just got to be yourself.
100%.
And yeah, me and Judith have come along different paths, but the main goal is to bring healing and upliftment and love and guidance and evidence as well. Throw that into the mix as well. But the main thing is to bring healing, love, comfort, all guidance, all that kind of stuff, and evidence. You know, there's been something I've been meaning to ask you. We've only got 6 minutes left, so I'm going to get it in. Years and years ago, I sat in an open circle just to reattune, because my guides were pestering me to do platform work at the time, and we were doing psychometry, and this girl that was in the circle gave me a pocket watch. Anyway, I read it. It turned out to be her granddad's pocket watch, and he was showing me himself digging his cabbage in his cabbage patch and all the rest of it. You know what I mean? And that was that. But when I gave it back to her, the pocket watch was working, and it hadn't worked for years. It started ticking.
Yeah.
So in some way, they've used my physical energy, or they wanted that to happen to prove, or granddad's wanted to prove to her that he was there, or something like that. What do you think of that?
I love psychometry. I love psychometry. Love it. I don't do it as often as I should. I do a lot of I love the communication. I love that talk. I'm a chatterbox, so I love to chat and talk. But a quick example of psychometry. I have to use my granddaughter. One Christmas, we'd got her jewelry. She loved her jewelry. She loved her bling. And we got her, one of her gifts was a lovely ring. And everybody comes, families all together on Boxing Day. And she lost her ring, but she didn't say, because she'd only just got it. And she didn't want to say she'd lost it. So we didn't know. And lo and behold, my partner was out, and it was our youngest daughter. She was in the shower, and I was upstairs in my wee meditation room. And I could hear our front door opening. I could hear the kettle being put on and the cups in the cupboard. And I thought, oh, my partner's back early. So I come down, and our daughter came out of the bathroom at the same time, and she said, "Dad's home." And I says, "Yes, I heard him." So she heard exactly the same, but there was nobody there. And I thought, oh, right, okay, somebody's visiting. So I came in, and next thing our daughter says, "I'm going to go out and see again." So she went out, and there was the ring sitting in the middle of the hallway, and it's a big clear hallway. And the ring was sitting there, and I lifted it, and it was my mother-in-law. And she said it was returning the ring that Jane lost, so she doesn't worry about it anymore. But I was able to read her ring and the object, and it's an amazing way to read too. I think a lot of people, psychometry is like physical mediumship. It lost its way for a while, and a lot of people don't use it as much as they could use it. Like for beginners, you know, I don't mean that in the wrong way, because I'm always worrying about terminology, and we're all beginners, we're all students, and we're all learning. But if it's something you're just wanting to start off in your journey, that's an amazing way. Psychometry is an amazing way to help. So it is. But I love psychometry.
I'm always telling people if they can read vibration, they basically cracked it. And that's what psychometry is. Yep. Once you can understand and interpret your vibration, basically you've cracked it. You know what I mean? What was I going to say? Just quickly before I read the poem, I had an ex-girlfriend and she lost her favourite earrings. Anyway, she tore the house apart for them. I looked for them and they weren't nowhere to be seen. We went right through the house several times, looking everywhere. And about 3 weeks later, there they were on the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And it's when we both walked in and she, "Oh, that's amazing. How did that happen?"
Yeah.
And all the rest of it. And I said, sometimes it's just their way of letting us know they're there.
Absolutely.
Little thing like that, you know.
It's little things like that can mean an awful lot. It's little things like that can really bring big moments to you, and big healing moments to you. Even usually when you don't think you need it, but Spirit knows you do. There's always a way to bring something in forward that way.
There is. Mel McConnell's going to look into psychometry. Please do, because it will give you an insight into vibration.
Yeah.
All right. And the interpretation of and everything like that. I won't go into how you do it or how I do it, because that will take too long. I'm not going to read
remote viewing. Remote viewing is very good. It works with your vibration and your frequencies, and it's really good too.
Yeah, but I always tell people that you could give somebody a message off their socks.
Absolutely. I read our animals.
It's in their vibration, isn't it? You know.
Do you ever read your pets? I read my pets all the time. I always, when we get a new animal, I read their energy. I read them every time. So we can do it with our animals and loved ones as well. Yeah.
Oh, very much so. Anything you can touch,
yeah,
you can read from it. My teacher told me that basically, if you get a ring, if you're really, 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 really good at psychometry, you should be able to tell where the gold was mined. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, apart from, you know, this was mother's ring or your ring and this, that, and the other. But yeah. Basically, folks, if you can interpret vibration, basically you correct it. But there's a lot more to it than that. But anyway, Judith, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for all your insights. It's been brilliant. And thank you for everybody for being here and asking your questions. It's been great tonight. Anyway, God bless you all. Thank you. Good night.
Take care.